everybody, and welcome to the Helen Winder Show. I'm Helen Winder, and my guest today is Simon Phillips, inspiring and enabling people to make a difference. Hello Simon, how are you?
Hi Helen, I'm wonderful. How are you?
Good, yeah, I'm great, thank you. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, where you come from and what it is you do.
Okay. Well, I'm a native Welshman, and I've had the good fortune of travelling mostly all around the UK in terms of educating. I went to university in Scotland, but I've worked all over England, and I'm currently living down on the south coast of England. I'm a consultant, and having sort of been trained at the University of Accenture, I did a lot of work with them for quite a number of years before setting up my own business. And again, I've had the great fortune of being able to travel to various exotic parts of the world to to help businesses, but also really help individuals to increase their performance, if you like, whether that be through skills building or trying to build their confidence through coaching and mentoring. So I do a sort of a whole mix of activities, but it's the summary could be it's all about people.
No, perfect. So how do you inspire them? How do you help them enable these new skills that you assist them with? Well, they're not really new, are they? Because we have them there. It's just how we switch them on.
Exactly. And most of the stuff that I teach people is common sense. And by presenting it in that way, it helps people tune in quicker, if you like, and appreciate that they can do it. Because I'm not teaching people anything that's really complex that they would need to study for years and years to acquire the knowledge. It's just common sense. It's information I'm passing on from other people who are great at what they do. And I think the inspiration for anything comes from within. And so I talk a lot with people about what motivates them and what demotivates them. And my favorite, I don't know if it's a definition of motivation, but it's certainly my favorite saying about motivation, which is the motive within. So what is it within you, if you like, as an individual, that you'd like to bring out and support other people with, such that they are going to benefit and you benefit in kind, if you like, by working with them or doing something that will support them.
Because I mean, a lot of people, I know myself, I've sort of been there. We can have a lot of motivation inside of things we want to do and skills that we have, but sometimes getting it out there isn't always easy.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there are various blockages that can get in the way, either emotional or physical, or sometimes you can just feel like the lack of resources is a hindrance. And so, through coaching and mentoring people, what I've found over the years is that yes, there may be real things getting in the way, but we still have that ability to choose how we respond to that. We still have that ability to say, okay, I'm conscious that there are some resources I don't have available to me right now, but that doesn't stop me asking, so what can I do? What could I do with the resources that I have that will move me towards my goal, or help me feel like I'm still participating in the world around me and contributing to the people that I want to support. So it's helping people. I think a lot of what I do is help people think about what they can do rather than focusing on what they perceive they can't do.
Do you work with people with sort of organisations, or can you work with individuals?
Well, personally, I do both. So I'm a change management consultant, which means that I work with organisations that are typically that are going through change, And the interesting thing about that is, what I found is that most organizations are going through change all the time. But yeah, I'm helping them think about, how do you bring the workforce with you? How do you ensure that people get it?
Yeah.
In terms of what the opportunities are, and what are the things that they need to do differently in this new world that you're creating. So I do work with organizations and teams, in terms of teams understanding how they can work better together, but also how they can contribute to the overall picture. And then I consider it a huge privilege. I do work with individuals as well, helping them think through some of the challenges they have, or even just brainstorm ideas as to what they might want to do next. So I do a fair bit of career mentoring as well.
Yes, because it's quite, it can be quite difficult to think it through on your own sometimes. You sort of, ultimately what you would like to do, but it's how to get there and how to make that change.
Yeah, exactly. And also having somebody to check in with when you think you might want to do one thing, but actually there are a whole bunch of other priorities that you are not considering as you're thinking about that item. So let me try and make that a bit more tangible. So I was working with a manager from a high street bank recently, and I've got a set of cards that I use to help somebody think through what's motivating them and what demotivating them at any one time. And as we put the life cards out, as an individual, he thought that exercise and health was a real top priority for him. And if you'd asked him the question, is health and exercise important, he would say, oh, absolutely, but he probably would have said, I just don't get enough time to do as much as I'd like to in that area. But what was interesting is when we started ranking all of the other aspects of life that were important to him, all the other sort of motivators, in terms of priority, health came about 11th out of 12. And it wasn't that in his mind that it wasn't important, it's just that there were a whole load of other priorities that were, or a whole load of other motivators, if you like, that were much more important to him. And so that helped him understand that, maybe the reason why he wasn't getting to the gym or going out for a run as often as he'd liked is because there were other things that were, in many respects, far more important to him, but he didn't give them conscious thought.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes just helping people question whether the things that they feel are important, if you like, are as important as other aspects of their life.
It's very interesting, isn't it? Because it can make a huge difference when people work with people like yourself. Suddenly you can propel forward, and so just having someone there to use as a sounding board, as a bit of, someone to question you as well, can make a difference.
Yeah, I think so. And sometimes it's just a listening ear.
Yeah.
I'm not a counsellor, but there are times when I just shut up when I'm working with someone, because I can tell that they're working through. So I'm sure you're very aware of this, Helen. Extroverts think out loud. So they do their thinking while they're talking. And so if I'm working with an extrovert, I'm very happy to be quiet sometimes while they do their whole thinking process, and then just wait for them to land on what they think is a conclusion to that part of their thinking.
Yes.
Because sometimes people just need to hear it and have that opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm guessing what's so wonderful about your show, because that's what you do. You help people to just think through, if you like, what it is they do in a very different way, and so I think that's a wonderful opportunity for people.
Absolutely, because we deliver our messages, we deliver our thinking differently when it's verbal and relaxed and just by being you. than
Mm.
when it's kept internally. Interesting. Now,
Absolutely.
and I know you've also got a book, The Complete Guide to
Uh-huh.
Professional Networking. Tell us a
Yeah,
little
this.
bit
I mean,
about it.
well, I've been networking for years, and I really got excited about online networking back in 2003
Hmm.
when I joined the academy, which is I think where you and I met initially.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah, and so I got a taste back then for online networking, and I wanted to put a book together that would help people, because a lot of people have a real fear about networking.
Mm.
You know, there's that sort of introspective view of, am I doing it right? Am I saying the right things? And, I don't like going out and talking to everybody in crowds, and they don't necessarily perceive it for what it can be. And I also wanted to sort of blow away a lot of the myths about networking as well, because ultimately, as I know you know as well, networking is really just about building relationships
Yeah,
and sustaining them over time, and doing what you can to support people around you, such that when you need some support, there's a group of people around you that you know can can be there for you, if you like.
that's it.
Um, yeah, so I wanted to make it really simple and
Hmm.
accessible,
Hmm.
so I teamed up with another person that you know, Simon Phillips,
Hmm.
and he did a whole lot of fantastic cartoons and caricatures for the book. And I interviewed about 50 real networking experts from around the world
Hmm.
um, to get their tips and advice for my readers in terms of what they do and what they don't do,
Yeah.
also quite important, um, to build their networks, whether they be online or offline. And the big um, piece that I've hopefully helped people understand a little bit with the book is that really, whether you're online or offline, it's exactly the same activity. You're just doing it in a different space,
Yeah.
and those, they can be mutually supportive, and you can make great strides online and offline with your relationship building.
Yeah, I mean, networking, it is, I mean, people don't like to think of it, but it is an essential part of business and actually life.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And so if I can make that accessible for people and give them, starting with real baby steps
Hmm.
through to being, I think I was running my own webinar earlier today where I was saying about how to be the complete professional networker. So, right through to that point is the journey I'm taking people on, and just breaking it down into simple and achievable steps so
Mm.
that they can build the confidence they need to just build relationships that will last them a lifetime.
Absolutely. It is, well, I mean, I've networked for many years, and it's quite interesting who you can meet, because you just never know, do you, who they're connected with.
No, exactly that, and that's why one of the sort of early things I say in the book is don't prejudge,
Yeah.
don't not talk to someone because they are in a job that you don't think is going to help you, because you don't know who their brother or sister is or their best friend.
Exactly.
But then, and the other thing I'm also trying to do with my approach to networking is help people to almost put their own interests to one side as they go about their everyday business of meeting people and building relationships, because I mean, and you would have encountered them too, when you go to a networking event and all they've got to talk about is their business or their products or their services, and they're not really connecting with you, they're not really taking any time at all to understand um, anything about you or your activities, that really puts people off.
Yeah.
So it's really just about building relationships and seeing how much you can support other people, because ultimately it will come back to you, just you can't predict how.
Yes, no, it's very true, very true. I mean, like ourselves, we connected, sort of at the beginning when the academy was around,
Yeah.
and then probably didn't really reconnect for quite a number of years, and then a few years ago we connected, and
Hmm.
here we are again. So you just never
Absolutely.
know how things pan out.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the thing is, once you've got, uh, um, a good friendship, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter how long you haven't spoken or connected, because ultimately lives are incredibly busy, and everything happens within our sort of smaller support networks, if you like,
yeah,
and then we've got our jobs to do, and then we've got our families to raise, etc., etc. So there's lots of things that just get in the way of what will I say, sort of continuous
mhm,
relationships. But that doesn't mean to say if you've gone about it right in the first place that people aren't going to reconnect when it's appropriate and there's an opportunity
yeah.
to do so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So how can people, how can they get hold of a copy of your book?
Oh, it's available in all good Amazon retailers. um, so Amazon got it, and my publishers, Kogan
Mhm,
Page, have it,
mhm.
and I understand it's available to order in most bookshops, but it's also out on Kindle, which is great for e-readers and things like that.
Absolutely, and then they've got it with them wherever they go.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, obviously I'll pop a link on the website, everybody, so who's listening in. It's called The Complete Guide to Professional Networking, The Secrets of Online and Offline Success.
Ah, wonderful. Thank you, Helen.
You're welcome. And how can people connect with you? Do you have a Twitter account or Facebook or your website? Just share that with our listeners.
Sure. I have all three of those and LinkedIn as well.
Mhm,
So I'm one Simon Phillips on Twitter.
mhm,
Um, I'm on Facebook as well. I think it's one Simon Phillips. It might just be Simon Phillips. I'm not sure.
mhm.
Um, and the same on LinkedIn. I think I'm one Simon Phillips on there as well, with two L's in Phillips. Um, I've also got a couple of other resources that might be of interest to people listening. So if they write down the words networking, not working, all as one word,
Mhm.
you can find a whole bunch of videos I've done on YouTube breaking down networking and
Mhm.
building relationships into sort of small bite-sized chunks. And similarly, we've got a page on Facebook that's called Networking Not Working as well. And other than that, people can catch me through simonphillips.net, which is my website where I post the occasional blog and have a bunch of other things that people might be interested in.
Fantastic. And again, I'll pop all those links onto my website with your interview, so people can catch up with you again and again. But do you have some top tips that you could share with our listeners?
Yes, top tips. Let me think. So I was I thought you might ask me that today, so I had a little think about what I've noticed with the people that I've either coached or mentored
Mhm.
over the years, in terms of when do they succeed, if you like, and when do they struggle.
Yeah.
And I think that my number one tip is only you can decide when it's over. And what I mean by that is you do get to decide when you're going to stop working on something or
Mhm.
stop trying to achieve something. It's not necessarily anybody else's choice. It is in your control. So I
Mhm.
think that's my top tip. Secondly, is a more irreverent one. Everybody needs to go to the loo sometimes. So, as much as, I mean, I've heard that in the context of public speaking, look at your audience and, recognize they all need to go on the loo sometimes, because
Yeah.
it sort of reduces your uh, anxiety, if you like.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good one to remember in life too, because there are intimidating people out there, and
Yeah.
there are people who will, seek to bully or seek to get an advantage over you, sometimes in an unfair way,
Mhm.
and that help you be a bit more resilient around people like that. Um, And then the final one, and I didn't realize this has become a bit of a theme in the work that I do. So earlier on in my career, I did a lot of work helping organizations implement flexible working, and work-life balance has been something I've helped people with over many years now. And the third tip really is balance is a constant choice. It's not something you can just get right once and then everything's great. You have to be constantly thinking about it and making minor adjustments as you go to keep a balance that you are happy with. It's not about anybody else's version of what life balance is. It's what makes you feel comfortable and happy. But you do have to pay conscious attention to it and make those tweaks over time. So I think those three really struck out for me as I was thinking about the question.
They're really good tips, and that last one I think is definitely going to ring a few little bells with our listeners. Well, listen, Simon, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. It's been really great catching up with you.
It's a huge pleasure, Helen, and it's great to speak to you.
Brilliant, lovely, thank you, and thank you also to our listeners for joining in. You can catch up with Simon's interview and links to his various websites, including the book, on my website, which is www.thehelenwindershow.com. I'll speak to you all very soon. Bye for now.